Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Welcome to the Roundtable, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon. You're listening to us on Broadway World or on the Broadway Podcast Network. And I know the work of our next guest, Nicholas Ma, is here. And Nicholas, you have Won't You Be My Neighbor is maybe my favorite movie of all time.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It was such a joy to make.
So when you come out and you start making a documentary and there's going to be something made, I know that it's going to be good. So I was like, okay, what is the story? Tell us what's going on. Tell us about your new project. The new project, everybody, by the way, is about healing the divide. We need that more than ever, called Leap of Faith. What's it about?
So it's about, Won't You Be My Neighbor, about a Presbyterian minister named Fred Rogers who spoke to the country. I figured people liked one Midwest minister. What if we did 14? And so Leap of Faith is about bringing a bunch of Christian pastors from Grand Rapids together to try to figure out a group of people that have huge disagreements. Can they find a way to stick together in this time where everything is pulling them in opposite directions? They came together over the course of a year, and they sort of got swamped by all the things that seemed to divide us. And yet they discovered answers that along the way kept surprising me and kept me engaged. And I hope it keeps you engaged. And hopefully it gives us all a little bit of ballast in this crazy time.
Well, Nicholas, you know what's interesting is that I moved from New Jersey and New York 5 weeks ago to Michigan. So we're in Michigan.
Amazing. Where are you in Michigan?
I'm in Detroit, and we're on break right now at the Detroit Lions Academy, and we're teaching the kids, and we have so much discord. There's not a lot of harmony. And in Michigan, which is not a swing state like I grew up in New Jersey, and I know you grew up in Connecticut and New York, and I know that your family has had roots all around wherever. There's a lot of political discord here in this mega swing state. So this is timely, Nicholas.
It is wild, right? You turn on the television in Michigan and you feel like you're living in some kind of like dystopian movie because every candidate has killed someone or committed some terrible crime and is like about to release, 400 criminals from someplace out. And like, if you listen to those ads, you're sort of like, I need to put on my hazmat suit, lock the doors, like hide under the bed and like, call me when it's over. That's what it feels like right now. And it's terrible. It's terrible.
So how did you find 14 pastors and ministers and all sorts of, and if you look, there's a list of them that you can see when you go to the website and you find information. How did you find them and why did you pick here?
Well, that was my leap of faith. I was talking to Michael Gulker, who had been doing this within congregations. And after he saw the sort of world start to fall apart, he was like, I need to do this across Christianity. And I was like, oh, I'm intrigued. He said, but I need to do it in Grand Rapids. And I was like, okay, I'm nervous because I don't know Grand Rapids at all. But he said, I think it's a really interesting group. And I said, okay, I trust you. Let's jump together. So we jumped in together, and it was a really interesting group. And it was remarkable watching them try to engage and find each other in this process. I really sort of think of it as a companion piece to Won't You Be My Neighbor. If Won't You Be My Neighbor was talking about how do we talk to kids, Leap of Faith is the same thing for grownups. And it takes a leap of faith to go in and do it, right? Maybe you're someone that's been hurt by Christianity or sort of suspicious of Christianity. I would say take that leap. You watch documentaries about Alaskan fishermen and you don't go out and become an Alaskan fisherman. You can watch a documentary on 12 Christian pastors and not feel like you're going to be proselytized. So maybe your leap of faith has to do with sexuality and you're afraid of anything that talks about sexuality. And these preachers end up talking about it, right? But take a leap of faith and see whether maybe actually this topic that is terrifying and that you think maybe we can't come back from the other side of talking about it. There is something on the other side, and it's more beautiful than what you might expect.
Well, let me ask you this question, personal to me and universal to everybody. I grew up Catholic. I'm an Italian Catholic boy from New Jersey. I was divorced at one point, my straight days. I'm engaged. I have my fiance. He's a beautiful person. And the church doesn't always feel like a place, it feels a place of fear for a lot of people and trauma. It's a place where we don't feel comfortable or judged. So, but there are churches, not the ones I grew up in, but there are churches that welcome people. But we have a lot of PTSD about religion and spirituality in the world. So what have you learned about people's thoughts before they step into a place of God and spirituality?
Yeah, I think what I think is so beautiful in my sort of experience over the last 4 years is realizing how big faith is, right? And that's the lowercase f faith, right? I don't think it's something that's I think it's like part of being human, right? Whether it's faith in, yourself, faith in your fiance, faith in your neighbors, faith in God, faith in art, faith in your favorite sports team. Who knows, right? Like we have this faith in us that we give. It's this trust in something that we don't believe, that we don't know if it's true, but we hope. We hope. And I think this movie is about saying, how do we operate in the world with a little bit more faith in the humanity of each other, right? For them, it's a really Christian thing of like, love thy neighbor. And I think often as gay people, we feel like maybe we haven't been loved by the church and things like that. But I think it's also this reminder that wherever you're from, there are people that you can love a little bit better in your life, right? Maybe it's you have a tough relationship with your mom, and how do you love that person a little bit better? Maybe it's you have a tough relationship with your neighbor or your colleague or whatever. And rather than thinking about all the big problems that seem to divide us, what about the relationships that are in our lives right now where we can love a little bit better, just like these 12 pastors try to do with each other? And when you do that, when you have that kind of patience and that kind of belief that there's something on the other side, I think that the opportunity is amazing.
See, this is why everybody that our friend here, our new friend, Nicholas Ma, left government, where he was working as an economic policy on Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And he decided, no, I'm going to come and heal humanity through art. And that is what you've done.
Oh, well, that's very kind of you to say. It's my contribution, I can say.
It is.
And I think
when you look back to you have quite the schooling. I mean, you went to the best schools in the entire world. Was there a moment when you said, I mean, you did. I mean, he went to Harvard, everybody. He went to NYU. He's got an MFA from there. So people paid a lot of money for you to have that piece of paper on the wall. So when you look back, was there a moment where you said, hey, family, hey, friends, I'm going to leave my government muckety-muck job and I'm going to make movies?
yeah, that was a scary moment. That was definitely a leap of faith. But I think we owe it to ourselves to think, what are the ways in which we can do something helpful, you know? And I felt like there were stories that don't get told that we actually really want, you know? And we fool ourselves, or we get fooled into thinking that those stories don't exist or we don't want them. But I saw it with Won't You Be My Neighbor, you know? We wanted that. We wanted that. We needed that, you know? My joke is, Won't You Be My Neighbor, Leap of Faith? They're both cheaper than therapy and maybe twice as effective, so give it a try. You know, it's like, sometimes you just need something that tells you, okay, hang on for another day. Bring someone you disagree to the movies, sit with them, and realize you can both have an emotional reaction together. And if you can do that, that means you can probably talk about a lot more things than you thought. And that makes the world just feel bigger. I worry that our worlds feel smaller and smaller, and we're like, oh, well, they use that word and they use that word and they did that and they did that. And so we can't, it's all of a sudden it's like just you hanging out by yourself. And that's really a lonely place to be.
Agreed.
And I don't think it's good for us.
No, I agree with you. And I think it's so beautiful what you're doing. At the end of filming this, just like with the end of Won't You Be My Neighbor, did you feel as the filmmaker that you learned something? Is there something that we're going to walk away from this film, maybe feeling a little more hopeful, maybe feeling a little bit more in love with humanity, one another, our neighbor?
Yeah, one of the subjects says this thing: "You be who you are, I'll be who I am, and we'll get through this together." And I think going into this movie, I really thought that only two of those things could be true. Like either you have to change, or I have to change, or we better go our separate ways. And to think at the end of this movie that all three of those things could be true, and I could be happy about that. That's amazing. And I want that feeling so badly because I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired, so to speak.
Absolutely. How can we look? It's already just like all his films. It's already been in film festivals. It's already getting rave reviews. How are we going to be able to see it? How can we support the work that you're doing?
We are bringing it to theaters across the country. We're starting in an unusual set of theaters. It's in Phoenix, it's in Nashville, it's in St. Louis, it's in Grand Rapids, it's in DC. We're launching in New York this weekend at the Angelica in Houston. Come see it, bring someone you disagree with, and have the conversation afterwards. And we'll be in cities across the country throughout October. My hope is that it gives us an opportunity to just heal. If we all heal 2 or 3 relationships in our lives, whatever happens in November, we're going to be better off in December.
Ooh. Oh, wow. I love that. Did you mean for the timing to work out like this? Did you go into it thinking that this was the way it was going to be released?
4 years ago, I had no idea the timing was going to work out like this. But when we saw that it could, it felt like, you know what? We need to take a stand for who we can be to each other now, not after November. After November, we're all going to feel like winners or losers, and that's never a good way to feel. But right now, we can say, I want to belong to you, and I want us to be friends today, November, and December, and January, and February. And we start that process today, because if all of us are connected, it means that what we're choosing in November is who's solving the problems that we have, but we're already starting to do that ourselves. Because at the end of the day, no one person is going to fix anything for us, right? No one's going to change the problems that we have in our communities or in our families. That's up to us. That's up to us.
Well, we have a conversation going up today with the mayor of Baltimore talking about violence, Brandon Scott, and talking about how important it is that we have to find ways to talk to youth, how important it is that we have to find a way to build community. We've seen, Nicholas, since I've grown up, I don't feel like people know their neighbors. Nobody has a community. Nobody reaches out, supports one another. And through church and faith is one of the main ways we get to build community.
That's exactly right. And maybe for you, it's not church. Maybe for you, it's your kickball league, or maybe for you, it's something else. And that's great, but do it. Recognize that asking these big questions, whether through church or through sport or through whatever, is an essential part of being human and a beautiful part of it. And it's worth it.
So you better go get your tickets when it's in your neck of the woods. Take somebody, bring your family, and support. We all need to just keep pouring out some love and support for one another and acceptance of one another. We're more alike than we are different most of the time.
You're here.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
I'm excited to talk to you. We love your work. We're ready for you to get out the camera and start tinker with something else. I'm sure you got something up your sleeve.
Always. But right now I'm laser-like focused on this, and I'm focused on trying to make it come to Detroit. We want to be throughout Michigan. We want to expand to Traverse City, to Detroit, to Kalamazoo, to really say, look, this is a Michigan story, and the Michigan story is an American story.
Well, you come to Detroit, and I'm going to take you out for a Coney dog and a Faygo soda, and we're going to have a full Michigan experience and get people to come see the movie.
I love it. And I can't wait to meet your fiance too.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Such a pleasure. Thanks, Robert.